Hello and welcome to Business Incorporated. I'm Chimezie Obi Iwago. On the show today, Safaricom and Vodacom plans $13 million purchase of M-Pesa rights from Vodafone. Staying off to face shareholder class action in Germany. Plus, Senegal imports turbines for West Africa's first big wind farm project. Well, let's hit the markets right away. Begin from home here in Nigeria, where the all share index is down 0.99%. That was at intraday trade. It's a different story in South Africa, where the JSE index was up 0.78% at about midday Nigerian time. The Egyptian bourse is closed for the week, but ended Thursday's session 0.82% in the green. Kenya closed flat on Thursday. And in the Middle East, the Saudi Arabia stock market fell sharply on Thursday as banks and petrochemical shares dropped amid falling oil prices. Saudi's index dropped 1.44%, with 10 of its 11 banks trading lower. Dubai's index rose for its third straight session, up 0.21%, rebounding from a March 1% loss earlier in the session, with most of real estate shares gaining. The Abu Dhabi index rose 0.58%, with First Abu Dhabi Bank, the country's largest lender, adding 0.6%. In Qatar, the index declined 0.28%, with Qatar National Bank, the Middle East and Africa's largest lender, dropping 1.2%, and Qatar Fuel losing 2.1%. And in Europe, markets were higher on Friday morning despite trade war fears continuing to put global stocks under pressure. British Prime Minister Theresa May announced Friday that she would resign as party leader on June 7, making way for a new Prime Minister to continue Brexit negotiations with the EU. Well, let's see how all of these are biting into the market. Let's talk to Lars. Good afternoon, Lars.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Well, Theresa May has just announced she will step down as UK Prime Minister on June 7. What soundbite are you getting about this latest development from your end?
Well, that's a good question. I can tell you exactly what I heard here on the market. A pin drop. There was basically nothing really to hear about Brexit. Nobody cares anymore because pretty much the chaos we have been used to all around Brexit is already in the markets. First of all, now this resignation by Theresa May, of course, was widely expected. Everybody knew she would be resigning, and everybody also knows that that still doesn't make it very clear where the British are headed. Of course, there's going to be a new Prime Minister. Boris Johnson is in the running there, and some experts have him up with the highest chances right now of being elected. He, of course, is a Brexit hardliner, which makes it all the more likely that we will see a hard Brexit, and that is obviously going to be devastating to the British economy. It is devastating to the EU. It is definitely going to be a problem for markets too. But we knew all that, and it has been priced into the market, so there is no surprise. Even the pound actually remains stable today. That's unlike what most people would have expected at this point. And as you can see right behind me too, markets here in Germany, the DAX pretty much flat, and that is only one index out of many here in Europe that are essentially unchanged today.
Now, how is the market waking up to yesterday's rout? And of course, the man at the center of the trouble, President Trump, is now turning up the heat on Huawei, calling the company dangerous. At the same time, he says Huawei could be part of a U.S.-Chinese trade deal. What's going on, and what's the market's reaction to these games?
Yeah, that's a lot more tricky, this story here, because what President Trump here says does not really fit together. It sounds a little bit, as we sometimes have with President Trump, it sounds incompetent and like he is doing his policy without much of a plan. Because on the one side, of course, there is a certain threat posed by Huawei when it comes to their hardware, and that danger that a lot of experts even aren't sure whether it is real or not, on whether they allow spying or not. But if they are, and if they are dangerous, as Mr. Trump says, from a military perspective even, then you cannot put them in a trade deal, but you have to deal with that problem then and really ban that company and stop this. So what he said here of the company being dangerous but possibly part of a deal, it sounds a little bit like part of his usual game. It's a little bit of a good cop, bad cop strategy, and the market obviously does not like a game like that. The thing is, nobody knows where it is going and what the effects will be, also not only on the Chinese side, but on the European and on the American side. As we have seen over the last couple of months, every new tariff has brought upon a counter tariff. Now, what is going to happen when the United States start outright banning certain companies? Are there going to be counter bans then? And what does that mean to the business of Apple or the chip makers like Qualcomm or Intel or Xilinx or so, who are having a huge business with China as well? So a lot of questions there, a lot of uncertainties, and the markets don't really like that at all, of course.
Meanwhile, Germany's telecom is nearing a major deal in the U.S. It appears that T-Mobile can finally merge with Sprint. Tell us more.
Yeah, it appears like they finally got over one more hurdle here. This has been a merger that's been planned for years between T-Mobile and Sprint. And now officials in Pennsylvania have cleared it, but it still needs to be cleared, a possible merger, by the Justice Department, specifically by the Antitrust Division. Antitrust, of course, that's what it's all about here, because we are talking about the number 3 and the number 4 of the American mobile phone market. And those, the number 3 and number 4 going together, of course, greatly diminishes the choice that consumers have, possibly raising prices. Generally, antitrust doesn't like that, but T-Mobile and Sprint have promised that within 3 years they want to develop a nationwide 5G network reaching 97% of the American population. So this is obviously a very interesting thing that Washington would like to see, and experts are saying that most likely this deal is finally going through, probably rather quickly.
This has been an interesting and busy week for the market, and of course it's been a beautiful outing with you. Thank you for your time and enjoy the rest of the weekend.